prioritize your non-negotiables. So every day, I want you just to choose 3 to 5 things that absolutely must get done. One of the most important productivity tips is give yourself permission to rest. Like burnout is real, and constantly pushing yourself to do more, it's going to leave you freaking exhausted. And one technique you can start to implement is called the Pomodoro technique, where you actually work for 45 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break. And then you really just like repeat that cycle to maintain focus. Hey mama, welcome back. Welcome back to the Wellness Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Amber Shaw. Thank you for allowing me to be in your ear per usual. I'm so honored for that always. So look, let's face it, like honestly, being a mom and being especially like a working mom, just juggling the demands of like the freaking everyday is hard. AF. Can we just say that first? Can I just start the show by saying that? Right? Like, do you guys not always, it's like, just feel like some days you're just walking through life, just like freaking drinking through a fire hose? Like, no joke. That's what usually my mom's like, oh, how's your day today? And I'm like, well, just, just more of the same, just freaking bouncing from one thing to the next. I'm like the freaking Uber sports mom. I just feel like, yeah, that is my second job that I don't get paid for, is to be an Uber driver back and forth to sports while still managing having a job, and I'm a single mom and an entrepreneur. And so, yeah, I feel stretched really freaking thin, and still trying to like manage the household, like forget laundry, right? Like forget cooking dinner, like all these things, right? That we have to do. So I just want to like normalize and just put it out there right now that like, listen, with all the demands that we have in midlife, it is hard as hell. And like, honestly, time just feels like such a precious resource that we just don't have enough of. And so what I've learned really in having to learn how to navigate this, especially as an entrepreneur, and especially as for me, like a single mom, right? Having to navigate that, I've really had to put a lot of like hacks and tools and strategies into my day just to be able to not freaking lose my mind every day and to stay on top of everything. And when I work with women, I really help them to implement a lot of these same strategies because it's a lot and we have a lot going on in our lives. And so I want to just share with you today 10 super, super practical tips to help you be more productive even when life feels chaotic. I want to help you to boost your productivity so you don't feel like you're constantly drinking from the fire hose. So you feel like you have a little bit of space in your life. And these are some of the things that have really helped me, especially in the last 5 years, going through divorce and also starting my own company, have really just helped me to like stay sane. All right. So the very first thing is to really, help you to be more productive and not feel so crazy all the time. It is to prioritize your non-negotiables. So every day, I want you just to choose 3 to 5 things that absolutely must get done. I usually do 3. I use this planner called the Day Designer. Yes, I'm old school. Okay. I've tried doing the iPads. I've tried doing having it on my phone, all these things. I need something that I can write down what I have to do for the day. And I need it to be organized, and I do it with a pencil so I can erase and move things over. But the Day Designer has been my most favorite tool that I use. And actually up at the very top of the Day Designer, it lists like the top 3 things that you can, like your non-negotiables that you have to get done. And so these are the things that I want you to focus on first above everything else. Like everything else can wait on because we all have like this massive running to-do list, right? But I want you just to prioritize the 3 things that are your non-negotiables. That's going to help you to reduce the overwhelm and really make sure that you're tackling the most important things first. So I really kind of a pro tip here is write those top 3 to 5 things down the night before so that you can hit the ground running the next day and you know exactly what you need to get done. The second thing that I want to share that's been super helpful is time blocking your day. God, this was something for me that I really had to get a grip on, especially when starting my own company, because you as an entrepreneur are pulled in so many damn different directions. But even if you're not an entrepreneur, like still managing all the things that, that we do as kind of the everyday mom these days, it's a lot. And like you can really not make effective use of your time, like energetically, if you are bouncing from one thing to the next and then going back and forth. Like you don't really realize how much brain capacity that takes up when you are like you're in a task and then you jump to one thing and then you jump to the next and then you jump back and you're back and forth and back and forth. You're so much more clear and so much more productive if you are able to time block. So for instance, and let me just also say, I'm a big believer too, though, in time blocking and blocking off time for like self-care stuff, right? So like blocking off time in your calendar for like your workout or going for a walk or just freaking having a think tank, which I like to call that's basically just me sitting and breathing and thinking for a minute. Okay. Just being with myself. But you can, if you were to block off, let's say, from 9 to 10, you were going, this is for like, if you worked from home, right? Like from 9 to 10, okay, I'm going to like pound out some emails. And then from like 10 to 10:30, I'm going to take a quick break and maybe go fold a load of laundry. I know for me that work, like working from home, if I don't have like dedicated times to get things done, then I'm just like, what happens is like every time I then like go, like let's say get up and I go to the bathroom and then I like look in the guest bedroom, because that's basically my freaking laundry room. I look in the guest bedroom at the pile of clothes on the bed, and then it just starts to give me anxiety. And then I may pop in there when, to start folding some laundry when I really shouldn't be doing that. I really should be like finishing up the task that I had already started. So it's just really helpful to block off things like that. Or like I said, 30 minutes in the afternoon for self-care. So by setting like dedicated times for these tasks, you're going to reduce the distractions, right? And you're going to increase your focus. Plus, I think that when you time block, it really shows you like realistically what you can accomplish in one day. Like sometimes writing this like long, ongoing freaking to-do list, I just feel like it kind of sets you up for failure, right? It's like, you kind of feel, especially if you're a little bit of a perfectionist like I am, you start to feel like if you don't get through everything, then like kind of like you failed, you didn't do a good job today. And really sometimes like the to-do list that you wrote was unrealistic to even do in the first place. So I really love to do these time blocks, and a pro tip is really to schedule out your to-do list on your calendar. And what I like to do is I assign a certain time and a certain day for each of these tasks that I have to get done. And if I don't get to it that day, like if it's not a part of my 3 non-negotiables, if I don't get to it that day, then I erase it and I move it to a different day. So it always has a dedicated spot. And if I don't get to it that day, that's okay. I just move it. I don't move it to this like massive to-do list. I actually give it another home. And that for me just helps with the anxiety and that it and the overwhelm. And it just also ensures that I've got like a dedicated spot to like getting it done. The next one that I want to share is do the hardest tasks first. I know for me, so perfect example of this in my business is writing copy is not my favorite thing to do. And it's because it doesn't come easy to me. And so that is like when I look at my day and I like look at all the things I have to do, like if I see I've got to write some copy on a day, I'm like, oh my God. So like that is like, so like, I'm like, but then this is exactly why I schedule it for the morning. I'm like, I just need to get it done. I need to just do it, get it over with, because if I leave it for the end of the day, like my brain is already going to be taxed. I'm not going to feel like doing it. And so even though I don't want to, I force myself to do the hardest things first, just because I definitely think that it boosts my productivity and it just releases that like mental freaking burden from having to think about it all day long. So I love to identify kind of what that is the night before and just plan to tackle it first thing in the morning when you've got the most energy. So a few more that I want to share with you. Another one is to batch similar tasks together. So I like to put similar tasks together and then like do them all in one fell swoop, right? So for example, like if you need to if you need to respond to emails, instead of like responding to emails all throughout the day, just set aside a block of time to respond to emails. And that's your dedicated time. I mean, you could do the same with like laundry and errands and like even meal prep, right? But it's just like, don't like, this goes back to like energetically, how it could just suck the life out of you if you're bouncing from one thing to the next, right? It's so much more effective and efficient if you just block off these times. So, batching really does, this is kind of a pro tip for you guys. Like batching really does help minimize the time lost switching between the tasks. Because there is not only mentally, is there an adjustment to like switch in between tasks, but like physically, it takes time to like go from, bouncing from one thing to the next, right? So really block similar tasks together. It's going to save you time. Another one is setting boundaries with your time. Girl, it is so easy to say yes to everything, especially if you are a single mom, or you're somebody that's balancing a lot of responsibilities. But really learning to say like no or not right now is just protecting your time and energy. Don't be afraid to set boundaries with your work, right? Or your family or your friends when you really need to focus. I really had to learn this pretty quickly because I've always been a very social person. I've had to learn this pretty quickly when I got divorced and when I started my own business because my time just seemed to lessen and lessen and lessen. And I had to be real strategic on who I spend my time with. So I really want to encourage you though to block off personal time on your calendar. Like it's any other important appointment, right? So maybe getting that manicure, maybe going for that walk, right? Block off eating your lunch. Girl, you deserve to eat a lunch where you're not multitasking. I am so guilty about this. Like I have to work on this because typically I'm like shoveling food in my mouth and like doing some sort of task for work. You deserve to have at least 20 minutes where you can enjoy your lunch and enjoy your food and be mindful around that without having to multitask. So don't be afraid to block off freaking eating your lunch. Right. And I will say this also, when I was coaching for years, fat loss for women, I coached mostly professional women who like the biggest issue of why they couldn't lose weight is because they simply weren't prioritizing their nutrition. And so what I would have them do that was like such a big game changer right off the bat was literally schedule their lunch. And like, then all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, okay, now I'm able to get my food in. Now I'm not starving by the time I get home and going headfirst into the pantry, eating all the snacks, right? And so simply by just prioritizing it and scheduling it was such a huge game changer. So give it a go. Okay, another thing that can help boost your productivity is declutter your space. I mean, I know you've heard this, but it really is true. A cluttered space really does lead to a cluttered mind, even if you don't realize it. I mean, because think about it. How many times have you like cleaned out something or cleared off your desk or cleared out a closet? And then don't you just feel this weight lifted off? I mean, I know I do. And it's just because like getting rid of that cluttered space, it really, even on a subconscious level, does declutter your mind. So just take 5 to 10 minutes at the start or the end of the day and like clean up like your desk or maybe even your kitchen or your bedroom. And I think you'd be amazed on how much that can affect like your focus and your motivation. So one thing I want to say about that is make sure you just focus on one area at a time and really don't try and organize your whole house on one go. Okay. Like that is definitely going to add to stress and overwhelm. The last couple that I want to send, or the last couple, actually last three, I've got 3 more for you guys that I want to share, is definitely automating and delegating where you can. I don't know about you, but forever, I got so much validation, I think, in doing everything on my own. I think that like wearing the superhero cape actually made me feel needed and made me feel just like I was in charge and in control. But that also is what led to like serious exhaustion. So, I really want you to think about your time as like an hourly rate, right? And if there are things that you can outsource, and because your time is money, right? Your time is valuable. If there are things that you can outsource to get some time back, I want you to think about doing that, right? Like even get your kids involved in the chores, right? Look at automating things like maybe meal deliveries or bills. Maybe even like freaking girl, get your groceries ordered online. Yes, you may save a little to go to the actual store, but again, think about your time as money. Yes, that $10 fee to get the food delivered is your time worth that hour that it's going to take you to get to the store? Is it worth the extra $10 to avoid that? I would say you're worth more than $10 an hour, right? So I just want you to start thinking about, like I said, time versus money, and your time is valuable, right? So really just look at where in your life can you automate it and take a look if cost has been the issue, really start to look at that lens as your time as money. The next one, and God, this is a huge one. I did an episode last week. I think it was about like some of the like healthy habits that are real game changers. And one of the ones that I mentioned was having a morning routine for success. You talk about really upping your productivity and having more space in your day. How you start the day sets the tone for everything. This is true for your nutrition. This is true for just how you go about the day with your intentions, right? Are you waking up in the day snoozing, slamming into the day, right? Or are you getting up with some intention, maybe having a moment of gratitude, enjoying your coffee, mapping out how you want the day to look? I mean, you know that those are two totally different days, right? And I think we can all agree that the latter is the one that we'd want to have, that we'd want to implement most days, right? Nobody wants to be slammed into their day, bouncing from one thing to the next, feeling chaotic, right? But how you start your morning is what sets you up for the rest of the day. So I really want to invite you, if you don't have a morning routine, start simple. Establish a morning routine that boosts your energy and your mindset. I like to start my clients by just doing maybe 20 minutes in the morning, maybe before the kids get up. Yes, it's hard to get into that. Yes, it's getting darker later now. Getting lighter later now. So like that's harder. Yes, it's not easy, and it's getting cooler out. It's not easy. It takes some time building that habit, but God, it's so freaking worth it. I would not trade my morning routine for anything. And now I really fiercely protect my night routine so that I can get enough sleep so that I can get up and do an hour in the morning. It makes or breaks my entire day. And I'm absolutely obsessed with it. So just spend a few minutes mapping out your day mentally, getting clear on how do you want your day to look? I love answering the question, what are 3 things that would make today great? Right? And really thinking about how you want to feel, right? How do you want to feel about your day? And what are 3 things that you could look back and be like, damn, that was a great day. It could be simple things like going for a walk, having a cup of tea, FaceTiming your mom, like whatever that looks like. But get intentional about your day and get clear on how you want to feel, right? And the last thing that I want to say is give yourself some grace and take some damn breaks, right? Like one of the most important productivity tips is give yourself permission to rest. Like burnout is real, and constantly pushing yourself to do more, it's going to leave you freaking exhausted and less effective for you, less effective for your work, and less effective for your kids. So don't be afraid to schedule short breaks throughout your day to recharge. This is one that I need to follow my own damn advice on. I'm not really good at this all the time. But if you don't get everything done, remind yourself that it is okay. Right? It is okay. And this is why some of these things that I shared with you today are going to be helpful about that, right? Like writing down the 3 negotiables and focusing on those. Or if you don't get something done, just moving it to another day. Because the truth is your value is not held in whether or not you finish your to-do list. All right, listen up, all my perfectionist ladies. Your value and your worth is not determined by whether or not you cross everything off your to-do list, right? It's okay if not everything gets done, right? And so just some days you got to just focus on what absolutely has to be done and give yourself the grace for the rest, right? So one technique you can start to implement though before we go, I will say, is that you can this is called the Pomodoro technique, where you actually work for 45 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break. And then you really just like repeat that cycle to maintain focus. And it also just gives yourself some room to breathe. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. Remember, productivity doesn't mean working yourself to exhaustion. It's about working smarter, not harder. And it's my hope that by incorporating some of these simple tips into your daily routine, that you can do more with less time and effort, all while maintaining balance in your life. Like, isn't that the holy grail? And remember, I really want you to know that it's okay to let some things go and really just focus on what matters the most to you and you. And you are the one that matters the most. Because if you're not taking care of you, you're not able to take care of everybody else the way that I know you're meant to and the way that you want to. So just take some small, consistent steps. Those are what's going to create those big changes. And maybe just start with one or two of the tips that I shared today and build from there. Because remember, girl, you got this. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one.